Hello, everybody, and welcome to what are we on? Season 3 at this point, Em?
You're the one who's supposed to be in charge of that. You're the one who uploads. You're the one who edits. I am just here as an additional head. Just your backup.
You're just like the voice
You
in
know
the
what?
back of my head.
You know what? Screw this. I am rebelling. I'm going to go for my true nature. Fucking I'm lazy.
Yeah, well, we already knew that.
Yes, but we're going to end this season before the summer starts with what is considered to be the cream of the crop, the best of the Bleach for the arc, the Zanpakutō Rebellion, also known as the Zanpakutō Unknown Tales, but everyone I know just calls the Zanpakutō Rebellion arc. And spoiler alerts, it good. We like it.
Yeah, it actually is pretty solid. It does, as being filler, it does raise a few questions, and it's not lore accurate to some degrees.
Yeah, also placing it in the Bleach timeline is an impossibility, so don't bother.
But before we get onto that, two announcements real quick, just to verify.
And one caveat first. We are not covering the additional mini arc, the Sword Beast arc. We could have fit it in here, but neither one of us had time to rewatch it, and neither one of us can remember it. And we do remember it being subpar compared to the Zanpakutō Rebellion arc.
I just remember watching it. I thought I was watching more Maz. There was like a recap of more Mazes somehow. So
Yeah, some people consider the two arcs one arc, but the Bleach wiki and a lot of Bleach extra material does not. So we will probably give her as a small episode somewhere, but for now we are not covering the Sword Beast arc. Now we'll continue with our announcements.
now, as we said, this is the end of season 3 for us. The main reason is, as usual, during the summer, my schedule at my job changes. So that kind of limits some time that we'd have to make some episodes, and having the summer to focus on work that I need to makes sense. So on that end, until the start of pretty much fall or somewhere in the winter, we're just going to put it on pause and be back again once we're able to. That's not to say we may not put up a bonus episode here and there that might be short. We'll have to see how it goes. But primarily, season 3 of Triggering Chaos is done and will come again once we're able to start recording as usual.
Yeah, so don't really expect anything between the months of end of June till mid-September, I want to say.
Yeah.
Nothing at all will be planned. It is planned. Soul might upload a few recaps here or there of other things he's been doing.
Mm-hmm.
But that's pretty much where it's going to be.
The other thing I want to bring up is during the week up to June 21st, myself and M and our good friend Nem, who has appeared on the show once, will be doing our marathons for the Alzheimer's awareness with The Longest Day.
I'll try to remind Soul to put that in the description link. I know he's bad with doing descriptions in the videos.
I have written a reminder for myself.
Yes, but you often write reminders for yourself you're going to do something this weekend, and this weekend comes and you never do it.
But this time I've written a special place where I won't lose it.
Your eyelids?
Karma.
Oh. You shaved it into your dog?
No. But I do promise to at least promise, as part of it is that I usually back listen to these episodes before they go up, so I'm going to hopefully use that as the reminder. But for the entire week, as much as we can, up until 21st, Nem, M, and myself will be streaming as much as we can. On June 21st, we will have our 24-hour stream with the three of us doing random games, having good fun, and generally just having fun with it.
Yep. Hopefully we raise a little money for an extremely good cause. But if you're just there for entertainment,
as we always said, those who have unfortunately have the unfortunate to be inflicted with, or have a family member that has it, or even just help somebody that does has it and just want to come by and talk about it, we're more than happy to listen. We're more than happy to talk. We can't give medical advice because none of us are actual doctors in this field whatsoever.
Unfortunately, Soul has not had to have any family suffer through it.
But I'm more than willing to listen. Unfortunately, that's about as far as I can really go for you. But I think it's the fact that you don't have to try and go through it alone. Talking to people sometimes does help. So But onto a more cheerful note, let's get on with the arc.
All right then.
So this was sometime supposedly in the actual anime, right around after Ichigo got beaten by Grimjaw, I believe.
Yeah. Okay, Ichigo has his Visored abilities. How strong they are is up in the air. Again, this pauses right before his first big fight with Ukura in the Arankar arc, I believe.
Ah, okay. I think you might be right.
Regardless, placing this is extremely difficult in the actual continuity of Bleach. So think of this as its own subset of Aizen's been defeated and nothing bad happened, and nobody learned any major lessons. Aizen, I don't even think is mentioned in this arc, and if he is, he's mentioned in passing as if he's not a current update threat.
Yeah, it's a little confusing on that end, and it's just like, just enjoy the show, kids. We'll get back to the main story shortly.
Yeah, but unlike the Bout arc, which, while good ideas, not executed very long and dragged out, this is short and sweet. We have a good idea, and we're going to do a pretty dang good job of executing it.
And
It
now,
is
like,
also it's a lot stronger than the previous filler arc we covered, the new Captain arc, which
yeah,
in itself was just inoffensive. It had really good points and really bad points, but overall we considered it entertaining.
mm-hmm.
This is, like I said, it's the idea of what if the swords that have their own individual souls that are assisting the Soul Reapers broke free and wanted to be their own people. Because the Zanpakutōs are a reflection of someone's actual inner powers and inner personality and soul, you get to see a different side of the Soul Reapers, who, let's face it, they're the most popular characters as a whole in Bleach.
Mm-hmm.
Urankar are the second most popular, but it's more of a, hey, these are 4 or 5 Urankars are beloved and the rest are forgotten about. Whereas the Soul Reapers, they're generally all very well received. They all have pretty cool powers. Hey, what happens if they have a mirror match, but their powers are done slightly differently?
Yeah. Now,
Because the Zanpakutōs do not take the form of the Soul Reapers. They take a humanoid form and have access to their sword powers, and the Reapers at the time lose their powers. Because if the sword is gone, the soul is gone from their sword, it makes sense that most of them cannot use, their special sword powers. So they
mm-hmm.
have to rely on their own innate abilities.
Now,
But
this
that's not the case here.
also, I think this also kind of is another huge thing because up until now, what we've had is an expansion of power with the Bankais, the Shikais, and just going, in a sense, balls to the walls because of how they could do this. Because you have the Soul Reapers with their swords that could transform and do all this amazing stuff. What this is a chance to, I think, in a primary way, is a chance to step back and demonstrate what a Soul Reaper can do without the full release of their swords. Yes, they do get it back by the end, that's not in question, but to see them struggle without it is a whole new side of the character that I kind of like what was presented.
For some Soul Reapers, we've always joked, hey, they just have this ability they just spam over and over again. What happens when you take that power from them? Or when they have to find out, oh shit, this actually really hurts.
I mean, a prime example of that, and I do like the character, but it is kind of a prime example of that, is Renji. Because he is always the first one to go to his Bankai after he unlocks it.
Yeah, which makes sense. The Bankai is a sacred and powerful thing, and only a select handful in the archives of the Soul Reaper history has got it. The Soul Reapers have been around for over 1,000 years. I'm willing to bet there's at most been 30 captains who've reached Bankai. And so Renji is now number 31, for example. That's a big friggin' deal. That's gonna go to your head.
Just a little.
You spamming your Bankai makes sense. Byakuya is also a character who's accused of spamming his Bankai.
Just a little.
Yeah.
But to be fair,
and other ones are known for just spamming their normal abilities. Another example of a spammer is Hitsugaya. He spams both his Shikai and his Bankai like friggin' crazy. He's the primary example I think of I've got a Bankai, I'm gonna whip it out. And
yeah, to be fair, we also talked about him being a prodigy, but by Soul Reaper terms, which is a good thing and a bad thing for his character.
He's mentally kind of a 13-year-old. So if Renji's head got big from getting his Bankai, even someone who is usually as aloof as Hitsugaya is trying to appear as, yeah, it's gonna go to his head a bit.
Yeah.
And this
And
this arc is fun with that.
yeah.
His character arc through this arc is one I figure at first I didn't get, but on reflection, I'm like, oh, that makes perfect sense.
Mhm. Now, this also
And I,
does bring up one other thing I wanted to discuss with another character when we get there,
Mhm.
because me and Emma talked about this before, and the character Momo, if is
Yeah,
currently
she
not even really been kind to from the fans.
no, the fans
On
generally do not like poor Momo Hitsugai, not Momo Hinamori.
Mhm. On one hand, I can understand the hate. I don't agree with
Yes,
it, but
no,
I can understand someone not liking the character for reasons. Now, I don't like the character myself, and it's not for the same reasons I've been hearing everybody else not liking them. But I want to discuss that more as we get in there, because
yeah, this gives her, I think, the greatest opportunity to shine. It's one of the highlights of this arc, which is
Mhm.
what filler arc should do. It should let you have a focus on characters who are never going to get focus.
yeah.
Because let's face it, a complaint we have with a lot of shonen shows is, wow, this cast is huge.
The other thing I like about this is that it does not not as hugely, but every once in a while it just does jokes that are like, this would never be
Mhm.
normal. You'll never usually see this kind of joke in the main line, or if you did, it wouldn't strike as heavily for some reason.
Now, I am going to bring up the one major complaint I cannot counter with the Zanpakutō Rebellion arc. Technically, this arc gives us way more new characters because every Zanpakuto who appears in it is a character now.
Mm-hmm.
And if you think Bleach is bloated before, basically take all the Soul Reapers and then double them.
Yeah, that's also why
The best,
they tried to
the
narrow
best
it down
counter,
to popular Reapers.
yeah, and popular powers. The biggest counter you have is a lot of these characters aren't full characters; they're a reflection of the Soul Reaper. But a few of them do act slightly differently than their Soul Reaper. I always took it as the Soul Reaper is wearing a mask. That's the person that they want the world to see, and the Zanpakuto is like, oh hell no, I got no restraints.
Well, the other way I look at
Now,
that is it. Okay, full intention. This is going to be spoiler, so might want to be quiet. If
oh,
nobody wants spoilers, I apologize, but because we now officially know how the Zanpakutos are made using hollows, I
and Soul Reaper souls too.
no, let me just go with that dynamic because it also kind of because you remember my theory about why no technically no Soul Reaper has two Zanpakutos. What they have
Yeah,
is a dual Shikai, and there's
yeah.
primarily like four, I think, examples of this, if I remember it.
Kinda.
Technically,
There's Ichigo's,
right?
there's Kyoraku's,
Mhm,
and there's Uchi's. The other one that was possibly a dual one, the Zanpakuto is the chain and not the blades.
right. But regardless, the three that I know, the three that I can follow the example of, is that the three of them all technically had a separate soul
Yeah,
because Ichigo had himself, his hollow, and his Quincy powers.
yes, which we find more about in the Blood Year
Mm-hmm.
Blood War.
Shunsui
Is
had
Shunsui the one I'm not so sure. Shunsui is the one who broke his soul into two. That's how we got a dual one. One is to protect a different sword.
okay, but regardless, he still split it. So technically, there's two Retsus going into one blade. Technically,
Yes, technically, but it's hard to explain. But basically, think of it as he had one Zanpakuto soul. He cracked it in half. That's it.
yeah, and
Momonosuke is God's left hand.
yeah,
For right
and
hand for
so
good measure.
technically, every person that I can count that has a dual Shikai or Bankai
Is
technically
a very
has,
unique individual.
yeah, technically has technically a separate individual linking Retsu into the blade.
Yeah.
And the way I think about it is that
I have both questions about.
this Zanpakuto is being made with hollows and being infused with the Shinigamis or the Soul Reapers. That has
Yeah.
a dual effect, and that's not just a representation of your soul. That's something else being added to it. And the way that I argumented this in this is what Muramasa does and what he says to the blade to have it turn against the master in the mass hypnosis essentially is.
Speaking of which, we should probably introduce the main antagonist of this arc.
Oh wait,
Oh wait, no, he's doing what every antagonist has to do, and that's punch a hole through Ichigo.
oh my god. You know what's really terrifying though? He's doing it while Ichigo's in
What?
Bankai.
Oh yeah, he is. God damn it, Ichigo. There's nothing left in that boy's torso.
There's really gonna be nothing left when Muramasa's done.
Yeah, that's true. Because that's what Muramasa does. He reaches into you and pulls out your soul. Well, the soul of your sword. Here he's
Hmm.
doing literally the Ichigo. Everyone else
Yeah.
he did it in a sleep or something like that.
I think because of how unique Ichigo is, Muramasa had to get a bit more personal and touchy with this approach.
He got very handsy.
Yeah.
That joke will make more sense later.
Oh,
Anyway,
it most definitely will.
do
But
we have an image of Muramasa to talk about?
I don't think it's up yet. We'll get there when we get there. Let's go on with the episode.
Sure, sure.
What?
But yeah, the series starts with basically a slight recap of how Soul Reapers work with their powers, with
Mhm.
Renji having a slight duel with Byakuya, and Byakuya still is ahead of his lieutenant. We get to see that, but we also get to see that Renji can put up a fight with Byakuya, and I like that. Renji is a character who's gone through a lot of not just character growth, but training.
Yeah. See, the thing
Well,
is,
he'll never be one of my favorite Soul Reapers. He's always one I appreciate.
yeah, the thing is, this is also a demonstration to the unit because Renji is technically not supposed to be someone that they would have normally thought to be able to achieve Bankai. He's essentially a street urchin that worked hard and became a lieutenant for Byakuya squad. I think that squad.
And it's not unusual for someone to get a Bankai from that situation, but it's unusual for someone to be so soon.
Mm,
Renji's not a prodigy, but he's still years ahead of having a Bankai if he followed the
mm.
normal traditions.
Because what a lot of
But
people forget at this point is Bankai was the pinnacle of the Soul Reaper society, essentially.
mhm,
And it
there are
was Covenant, and that
many,
there's a reason why only captains had it because the chances of you unlocking it. Well, one thing was just you having enough spiritual pressure. That's one thing.
another thing is enough drive to
Hmm.
train for this. The third is you must, in a sense, come into terms with your Zanpakutō and reach a true alliance with them, which usually infers having a inward battle with them and defeating them in some means.
Yeah.
So Renji is above and beyond the average Soul Reaper. He's still not captain material in the eyes of most people because he doesn't have good leadership. He's not a completely well-rounded Soul Reaper. He's not a very focused Soul Reaper. As lieutenant, I imagine he's a dream for most
Hmm.
captains to have someone
He's a
just like
driven individual who is doing everything he can to achieve his goals. And
which the original goal was to match Byakuya in power,
mhm,
which does focus his limit a little bit. And I like that the show shows that it makes him a really good fighter, and he's a competent lieutenant, but he's not captain material like someone who is focused in more areas
yeah.
and calm like Byakuya. These two really complement each other very much, and them having a slight duel at the start of this arc is not just good foreshadowing for this arc, but it just gives you that a show that originally these two were so far apart. The image of a monkey chasing the moon was how Byakuya described the two of them. But now they're peers. Byakuya has
Hmm.
come to rely on Renji and respect his power. He doesn't like say, Renji, you're my number one guy. He just kind of just stands next to Renji and I'm like, oh my god, here's the richest, most noblest man standing next to this street urchin, and he respects him.
Hmm. Because what I liked in season one is Byakuya had enough respect for Renji after beating him, saying, "Congratulations, you reached the moon." He didn't successfully beat
Yeah.
the moon, but your Paul reached the moon essentially.
He described it as your fangs have
The
touched it.
fangs. Thank you. I could not remember what he said exactly.
Did not do any damage, but essentially the way Byakuya kind of sees it is a monkey built a spaceship and landed on the moon. Did not colonize the moon because the monkey forgot a spacesuit. That's essentially what happened. But this monkey built a spaceship. How the monkeys do that? You can forgive the monkey for not having a spacesuit.
Yeah. Okay. And the other thing is that the other captains have recognized Renji as well. Before they probably knew of Renji, but
But you might, I have paperwork to send to Squad 6. We'll sign it to Byakuya and, what's his lieutenant? Renji. Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's probably as much as they knew about Renji as,
and
hey, he's administratively the
yeah,
right hand.
and it's nothing against him. It was just how society was. Lieutenants were more of a big deal than the other seats. But compared to a captain, that's like the difference between an island and a continent.
Yeah, it's basically you would know who the general of another nation would be, but you might not know every colonel.
Mm.
When you get introduced to do so, oh, that's a colonel of the Canadian Armed Forces. You go, oh shit, he's a man worthy of respect. I didn't know him. I don't know his name off the top of my head, but okay, respect.
Yeah.
But you would know who the other generals were.
Now,
Because let's face it, the Soul Society is huge, and if you're a captain, you're running like 100+ people. You're not even going to learn all your own seed guys.
yeah. But let's move on for a moment. At the end of the duel, Byakuya, oddly enough, got scratched by his own pedals.
Yeah.
Now, for someone,
apparently it hasn't happened to him since he first unlocked it,
Mhm.
because Senbon Zakura is a blade that takes a lot of concentration, and the way he reacts to it is, I didn't lose focus. That's weird. And everyone else doesn't notice this, but Byakuya lingers on this, and there's a good reason why he lingers on this. Not just that because Senbon Zakura is a difficult sword, but because he's a studious man who knows the history of the Soul Society very well.
Mhm. Byakuya has
has a mate has an arc in this and a side story in it, and it's a really good one.
It's also a demonstration that despite all the character growth Byakuya has had, despite being on screen probably less than Renji,
Yeah.
but his character growth is in a different way. It's not a growth of power or I would say it's still self-discovery, but not like I'm not quite sure how to put it, but it's definitely a character growth to him realizing what is important to him, but his values.
What he has learned is that his family's traditions are not automatically the right way, but there's still knowledge in the past, and he demonstrates that greatly during the climactic battle of this arc.
Because he doesn't just immediately turn his back on his family, the generations of conviction, because his family, while having some issues, generally after you meet his grandfather and stuff like that, they're really just his family's true value, at least what I get from his grandfather, what may have been twisted at some points, was just to protect Soul Society. Wasn't to wage war or humiliate people in general, which it may appear that way,
or to pointlessly hold up the family's honor.
Mm-hmm.
That's the real thing he learned from being beaten by Ichigo, even though technically he kind of won that fight with Ichigo. But Ichigo's conviction broke his conviction, ergo Ichigo won.
Mm-hmm.
And in this arc, we get to see what that actually means. Because if he followed his family tradition, he just would have continued a cycle. But he decides to break the tradition, but still honor the tradition legacy. He is given kind of a task for this arc, one that he could have dutifully 100% followed, just like Grandpa did. Instead, he takes a risk while still taking his clan's responsibility and making his own thing. He breaks tradition to actually win the fight in a way that's stupid by his clan standards, but in a sense, it's exactly what Ichigo would do. And he even nods to Ichigo in a sense of, thanks to you, I can do this.
That's what I like about Byakuya is that, like I said, the growth isn't just him doing a complete 180 and denouncing everything he used to believe in. It's just more like taking a 90-degree turn and taking what he has learned from the past to what has been open to him in the present.
And he's become a very much the best way to describe Byakuya is he's become a man who follows malicious compliance completely. Oh, sure.
But like I said, mainly I just like that as much as the characters have changed and grown and realized to be not a whole new character, but to kind of self-adjust. And I think that's more important than someone just going complete 180 and being a new hero or being someone new.
Yeah. Anyway, next image.
Now, we also come across Rengiku here.
I love this scene because Soul Reapers traditionally do some meditation with their Zanpakutō to get to understand, learn new techniques from them, or if you're trying to reach Bankai, you have to communicate with them a lot. But because Zanpakutōs are kind of a reflection of one's soul, we get to find out that if you have a haughty, annoying personality, your Zanpakutō might copy that, and oh goodness gracious, is Hinako a bitch to Rangiku?
Well, it's not like Rangiku's any better to them either, so it's kind of like.
And I'd like to think that Rangiku's playing this up just a little bit because she realizes, your Zanpakutō is a bit like you, but she's just calls her a haughty brat who doesn't want to listen to her and is unbelievably lazy. And she's yelling about this and to her captain, who's just like, yeah, I wonder what that's like. It's good comedic writing. I know she's playing up to it because she is one of the more clever lieutenants, but she likes to play up that she's a lazy drunk.
I think it's a bit of both on that one because it's like
I like to feel halfway through she realizes what she's doing.
Well, it can also be the joke that as smart as she is not caught on to that much self-awareness entirely.
I mean, that's a little bit on the funny side too.
So
but you can see throughout the Soul Society, a lot of storyboards are like, "Hey, my Zanpakutō is acting on the fritz." Like, you want to call technical support, but I'm just gonna say Umaida's not on the can't hear his phone right now. He has his headphones on and he's jamming up some tunes up there.
And the only other science expert nobody wants to go to.
God no.
Or he was busy Kizuki's busy selling candy. But
I'm banned from the Soul Society. Can't help you. But we get to see some mysterious characters hiding in the shadows.
And the thing is, if you know the character and what the Zanpakutō's names are, it's really fitting for how they look.
A lot of them are kind of puns. A lot of them are play on words. It's really clever, and it just shows that Kubo, when he named the Zanpakutōs, put a lot of effort into their name. Because Kubo just loves to do a lot of storytelling with names.
And so that is Zabimaru, both of them.
I only see one of them. This is a terrible image. I wouldn't have used it.
Oh no!
But
no.
We get the mysterious characters hiding in darkness, and surprise, surprise, it's the Zanpakutōs getting physical forms. Again, I can't see anything in this image, so terrible choice. But
can you see that one?
Yes, that's a decent one.
Well, you see, this is actually just how we're introducing them at the end of the episode. So try to keep some of it enshrouded in mystery for you.
Yeah, some of them you can guess right away. Other ones you would not be able to even with them.
So that's really just what they did with it. So it is what it is on that one. But primarily, you just see them all grouped up, and at the end of the episode, we're going for war.
Yep, the Zanpakutōs announced we are free, we are rebelling, and there's nothing you can do about it.
Now, this is also makes me want to point out that there was a ton of stuff going on in some episodes that really was just them either trying to explain something or just people talking to each other. While it's interesting, and at the time you're watching the episode and you're getting things, it made it really boring to find so many pictures of this. So a lot of this stuff might skip from episode to episode. I think there's like one whole episode where they were just going over what was going on. And
we rarely call it episode when we do these episodes. When we do our episodes, we just kind of jump over a place anyway. So don't fret about that, Soul.
So I just thought it'd be fair to mention.
Traditionally, I'm the one who hunts down the images, especially for Bleach episodes, but I had problems this weekend. So
to
be a big boy, do everything by himself.
I put on my big boy pants. But yeah,
I rebelled.
But yeah,
we get a dramatic. Hey, the head captain called us to this spot for a meeting. Why is he not here? We have come to rebel.
So
and one of the mysteries of this arc is, where's old man Yamamoto?
Because he has not been around.
Yeah.
And
also, every Zanpakutō is rebelling, and Ryujin Jaka is the oldest and strongest Zanpakutō they know about.
Who is also conveniently MIA as well.
Yeah. Yeah, that's...
Because if Muramasa could make Zanpakutōs rebel, that would be a great help.
Well, considering Ryujin Jaka's release command has reduced all things to ash.
Yeah.
And that's not it exaggerating.
No.
Like, Reign Over the Frosted Heavens Hyorimaru feels like a big boast for Yahitsugai. Like, it's a pretty good sword, but I would just call it, make it really chilly, Hyorimaru, not rain over the frosted heavens, but Ryujin Jock is saying reduce all things to ash.
And then when you remember, he almost pretty much dried out all of Soul Society when he was fighting his two prize students, Shusui and
Only
Ukitake.
Shikai.
Yeah. So, yeah.
It's a good way to build up tension and to hype up Old Man Yamamoto. The two of us are not the biggest fans of him at times.
But good lord, his sword is amazing.
Yes.
Look, I'll say it again. In times of a direct conflict of war, yeah, so Old Man Yamamoto is a good one to listen to. In times of planning before the war,
no,
need some work. But
look,
to be
Old Man Yamamoto is actually good in a fight, but I think he's at his best when you decide to use him as a tactical nuke.
Yeah, but to be fair, this is also an example of his backstory and how he had to set things. Yeah. So once again,
we'll do more talk about Yamamoto in a minute, and then we'll do especially during the 1,000 Year Blood War. But let's not linger too long. We have a lot to get through.
So yeah, things didn't go as well.
No. So Kisuke and Yoruichi noticed, hey, our Zanpakutōs in the human world aren't acting up at all. Yoruichi, why don't you go investigate, because you never used your sword in the first place, so you're not really in danger if your sword goes missing. And she gets to see the damages. This happens after Rukia comes back to the world of humans to warn Ichigo, which warning Ichigo just means he's gonna poke his head into things.
Which means he's gonna bring his Zanpakutō.
So Yoruichi tags along with him, and the two split up because they do think because Ichigo's Zanpakutō is different. They know Zangetsu is different, and they know Ichigo is different. So they're like, maybe it'll be okay.
Look, it's not the first time Ichigo's bent the rules by being different, so give it to him.
Yeah. So Kisuke's hesitant, but not against it. But we get to see some really good fights, and I think the fight between Rukia and Sorono Shirayuki, God, her sword is hard.
I'm never saying that.
Is beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
And we get to remember, oh right, Rukia is really damn good with Kido.
Mm-hmm. And one of the things I do like about Kido is like it is versatile with how you can think about using some of it. Mm-hmm. Like this spell was not meant to be used this way.
But she basically used herself as bait to pin down her Zanpakutō because my sword is a little bit faster than me. And she knows how I fight. So if I fight a little bit recklessly, which Rukia is extremely good at going, fuck this. The reason why she's one of my favorite Reapers is she has a finalized style, and her Zanpakutō is really pretty and really cool. I think it's the best Ice Zanpakutō, fight me Hitsugaya fans. But she's also willing to go, fuck this, I'm doing something stupid.
And she really picked up on that from Ichigo, let's be honest.
Honestly, it feels like Ichigo reminded her how to be scrappy.
Yeah.
When she joined the Kuchiki clan, she had to noble the fuck up. But I always felt like she never was going to be a noble lady. She could do it. No. At our heart, she just wants to just roll up her sleeve and just duke you.
Yeah, I can see it.
And this fight basically shows off she can do that only with magical spell. She ends up defeating Sorono her sword herself, hurting herself in the process, knocking her out of the fight. But she's the first one to take down her Zanpakutō by doing what's most important. Thinking differently.
Yeah.
Your Zanpakutō is your partner. It knows you extremely well. So, outside the box thinking.
Yeah, unfortunately, this doesn't end the conflict because Rukia's sword was saved by Muramasa and they vanish.
Yep.
By the way, remember that Tenjo thing we were talking about earlier?
Here's Muramasa himself.
Mm-hmm.
This is him, after reaching at Ichigo's guts, this is him pulling out Ichigo's guts.
Now that looks kind of familiar. That's supposed to be a spirit ribbon, but the way that energy is, that looks really familiar.
It's all craggly and black and...
It has a red aura to it.
Yeah, Ichigo wasn't immune.
No.
Muramasa might have had to work a bit harder, but he pulls out old man Zangetsu.
Yeah. But,
again,
yeah.
Ichigo's a bit different. Because his Shikai is always active, his Shikai stays in Shikai form. You can activate a Bankai, but we get another match between old man Zangetsu and Ichigo. It's a pretty good one, except for Ichigo's powers start misbehaving because, oh yeah, White Ichigo's the only one left inside.
Okay, I
So
just
with
want to
all
say this. Thank you for remembering this form exists.
Ichigo's forms, but I'm glad it got one more use. It gets another use too in another filler arc, but
Look,
this
I'm
is
just
really
saying,
good.
I would have liked to have this have more use than just like 5 seconds. Like,
Yeah. I think it gets a total of 2 minutes screen time if you count every time it gets used, counting the two filler times.
yeah, but every time he's
So
just either standing around or like punching or kicking or something. I would like something a bit more than just like one scene of action and then poof, somewhere else.
yeah. So we do get a little more action with it. And because of Ichigo's uniqueness, he eventually learns that he can use White Ichigo in place of Old Man Zangetsu. It means he
Mm-hmm.
can't use the mask or this form, but he has to rely on White Ichigo.
But the bonus fact is, healing's still there.
Yeah, he still gets the healing factor when he's not using when he's using that weird masky form.
Yeah.
He loses this during the actual when he's working side by side with White, who White just basically says, "Hey, that old man's ours. I don't like losing stuff."
Yeah, pretty much.
And
Oh,
Ichigo's like, "Yeah,
oh,
sure."
this can't be good.
Yeah. So when Muramasa pulled out Old Man Zangetsu, he first walked into Ichigo's soul and took a look around.
Yeah, Ichigo didn't like that.
He really liked Muramasa's design.
You know, I just gotta question something though. Is
What?
Ichigo's spirit body just standing in the middle of the battlefield, just like staring off into space when this is
Is
happening?
Muramasa inside Ichigo, or is there a version of Muramasa outside with his hand still in Ichigo's stomach?
I just imagine now his hands on his stomach and they're both just staring at each other with a blank stare on their face.
I am picturing like some normal Soul Reaper who's just on patrol, walks around, sees that, takes one look, turns around. I'm not patrolling on this street anymore.
All right, that or I gotta lay off the sake.
Nothing bad's gonna happen today, Fujimaru. They told me.
Oh yeah. Also, all this all happening. Renji is fighting Zabimaru.
who, because of a throwaway joke in the next time on Bleach, they do something, a little joke between episodes at the end of episodes. The Shinigami illustrations, or the Goldens, or the Arankar encyclopedias, or the Quincy encyclopedia. There was a joke of Captain of Squad 12 Mayuri saying, "I can modify your Zanpakutō. I can even make them female." And Renji looks up going, "Ooh." So, as a throwaway joke, rather than be the weird baboon with a snake tail, this is what happened after Mayuri got a hold of Zabimaru. And she's kind of pissy about it, but not against it. Like, she doesn't hate her for it, but she's kind of like, "You made me look like this."
Some fans
And
drilled caught her a Super Saiyan 4, and I can't blame them for it.
Yeah, I can see that. So I like these two because they kind of butt heads, and it does remind me how Renji is easy to butt heads with people.
Mm-hmm.
They're chained together, like how he basically chained himself to chasing Byakuya, and how his power is an extendable sword. And they can throw each other around, and at any point, one of them can summon a version of Zabimaru. So they have the range of Zabimaru and the range of their chain. So
And
they get
there's
very
two of them,
creative
which is really kind of cheating.
around and teleporting the sword between which one of them has it. And Renji has to fight these guys with just a normal ass sword.
Mm-hmm.
But
enough about that. Let's get back to the real fun.
Okay. What we wanted to do was point out that the show loves to point out there's a lot of similarities between Renji and Ichigo. So while Ichigo's having this internal conflict, literally an internal conflict, Renji's having a very outward conflict.
Yeah.
So we go back and forth between these two scenes. And I do like how Muramasa goes, "Hello, what are you?" And Holly just takes none of this shit. He doesn't entertain anything.
Well, actually, no. Actually, White does entertain us for a minute, and he says he's the real Ichigo, which technically is true.
Yeah, White Ichigo is the example of I have never lied once in my life.
Mm-hmm. That's one of the things I really like about White Ichigo. Is you may not like what he says, you may not like his violence, but throughout the entire show, he has not once lied to Ichigo, or to anybody that's actually ever had any conversation with him.
Withhold truth? Oh yeah. Be technically correct? Oh yeah. Be a smart ass about his answers?
Most definitely.
Hell yeah.
So when he says he's the original Ichigo, we now know he is the hollow that was inside
Masaki. Ichigo's
Masaki.
Yeah.
And got transferred to Ichigo when they were born. So in a sense, yes, he is the original Ichigo.
Yeah. He is Ichigo's true source of power. But Muramasa pulled out Old Man Zangetsu because Ichigo puts Old Man Zangetsu first. So obviously, when Muramasa goes reaching around for superpowers, oh, hey, this is the first thing I grab. Not knowing that White is the true source of power. And when he realizes Ichigo still has Soul Reaper powers, what the fuck is going on here? I'm going to go inside and have a look-see. But the way Muramasa's powers work is he whispers into Zanpakuto's ear of, hey, aren't you unhappy about something your Soul Reaper's doing? Don't you wish to express your true nature? Don't you wish to be free? Well, when he tries that with White Ichigo, his only desire is to make Ichigo and himself stronger.
Mm-hmm.
He lies to Ichigo by he doesn't really lie. He says, if you don't do it, I'm in charge. He doesn't need to be let free to be in charge. In fact, being set free means he can't be in charge of Ichigo.
Mm-hmm.
It means he's separate from Ichigo. He doesn't want to be separate from Ichigo. Sure, he wants Ichigo at his feet at worst, but at best, he wants to put Ichigo higher up.
Mm-hmm. This is
So his true desire is to make Ichigo stronger and to get you out of Ichigo's soul.
Because we also saw this. This is the other thing. During the fight with the ninth spot, I can never say his name.
Ninth. That's not the one I'm thinking of. That's the one Rukia fights.
Okay, which number was Okura?
Okay. Ukura is 4, as in death.
Oh, you're right. I'm sorry. I have my numbers wrong. My apologies.
9 is the guy who Rukia fights solo.
Okay, my mistake. Is that Hollow Ichigo didn't just emerge because Ichigo was 100% dying. He was dying because Ichigo's last request was to protect his friends.
Specifically Orihime.
Mm-hmm. So, to complete that request and become stronger, White took over and curb stomped number 4.
Mm-hmm.
The thing about it is that White is pretty much driven down to being Ichigo's instincts. Instincts are not calm thinking. They're not choice decisions. They're your decision at the time based on, well, instinct. And instinct comes mostly from nature and animals and stuff like that. So they tend to be violent and no restraint.
Yeah. They know protect the pack. And White has basically at that moment knowledge, okay, Orihime is part of the pack. You are endangering the entire pack. I get to go on a rampage.
So when someone invades his world, essentially, because he lives here, for lack of a better idea of it.
He likes it here. It's not perfect, but it's home. You come in here, mocking my king, taking our stuff, and then you have the gall to tell me that you know better for me? Get the fuck out of my hand.
And I just love, once again, showing in his fighting style, which is somewhat similar to Ichigo's.
And Ichigo does try and copy him sometimes, but not as well.
But the way he just wields himself and spins the blade and uses the wrap of the handle to just throw the sword around, I just love the way White fights.
It catches Muramasa off guard so many times because he's used to fighting people who fight like people.
Yeah.
Here's this guy who's just a screaming lunatic in a sense. And what I do love is at one point Muramasa does get the upper hand. Okay. And Ichigo then frees White and he's like, I don't like him, but he lives here, so get the fuck off our lawn.
Ichigo pretty much says that he is me, a part of me, and yeah, he's staying.
Yeah, I don't like him, but that's between us.
Yeah. So get your scrawny ass out of here.
Get your discount Ukiyor ass out of my head.
Oh, by the way, the other weird thing is Renji is able to do Shikai
He gets
again.
Zabimaru back. Yeah, he gets Roar Zabimaru by just keep doing it over and over again, and basically telling his soul, "Yeah, I know I rely on my Zanpakutō because it's a part of me. I respect that part of me, and no one's gonna tell me how the fuck to fight but me. Not even me."
You're not the boss of me, I am, but I am you. You stay out of this. This is between me and myself.
But we are you.
What did I just say?
It doesn't work. Like it lets Renji start to fight on even ground, and then Zabimaru goes, "We still have Bankai."
Son of a bitch.
Fuck.
Meanwhile, Ichigo's back up in the spiritual world.
Yep. And this is him working with White to fight Old Man Zangetsu, who is his instinct is to protect Ichigo and make him stronger in that order. So he's quite curious if this union will make Ichigo stronger and protect him. He thinks he can kind of protect Ichigo from the outside, so that's why he was okay being ripped out. In my theory, at least.
Well, I think he was also a little bit hypnotized. He even admits to it because he did fall a little under Muramasa's sway.
Mm-hmm. Muramasa has to start a whisper of a truth you can listen to, and then he can start manipulating you more and more. He did speak to Old Man Zangetsu in a way that made him go, "Okay, maybe you're not all bullshit." I just like how those whispers doesn't work on White, because he's just like, "I know you're nothing but bullshit."
Yeah, what we find out later on in the 1,000-Year Blood War, this is pretty much the part of the Quincy King inside of Ichigo. Yeah, is what Old Man Zangetsu is.
Embodiment of what his Quincy powers could be. It took the form of the young Yhwach.
Yeah. And
but again, that's for the 1,000-Year Blood War. And this doesn't really tell us. And some people say it hurts that reveal. I think it actually plays up to it, but you're free to interpret that.
I think it adds to it, but what I was going to say is that in 1,000-Year Blood, we find out that one of the things that he was doing is he was restraining Ichigo's power to try and keep him away from battle. So
and to keep him away from being a Reaper or a Hollow, the two enemies of the Quincy.
Right. So what we're going to have here is almost somewhat, without Ichigo realizing it, a part of himself all out.
Yeah. It's also another way of showing himself that you are more than just one power set. You are all of them, and you need to get them in balance. This is an example of his powers being out of whack. And that's one of the things Ichigo keeps having to learn. Because he's such a hybrid of a character, he has to learn balance. And that's basically one of the things that the 1,000-Year Blood War basically shows, is once Ichigo learns the fuck to balance himself, dear God, he's terrifying.
Yeah, pretty much Ichigo essentially is a high-powered octane engine, but a rookie behind the wheel.
Yeah. So, and everything he's done doing is stupidly impressive, and yet he doesn't know how to drift yet. He's still winning races by just, I'm gonna floor it. Shouldn't you, take the drift, go on the inner side?
I'm gonna floor it.
Just, take the... No, you're going off the dirt road to floor it? Floor it. And that's how he's been able to do it. He has got so much raw power, so much raw speed, that, yes, he can beat people who are like, doing drifts, got the right wheels for the situation. I have trained, I have this street memorized. Floor it.
Yeah, floor it, Ichigo.
So once he starts learning to, oh right, I can do the same thing you guys are doing, such as learning this race course before showing up.
I think the best example of that is when he was coming back to Soul Society to fight Aizen with the medical captain. Yeah. And she makes this perfect smoothed out road to run back on, and Ichigo's having a hard time doing it. And he finds out that
he says, "Oh, this must be because you're a captain. You captains have so much raw power, you can do this." No, I'm just spreading out my energy properly. You could make an even better road with how much power you're producing. I'm not producing that much power. See, my Shihakusho's all damaged because I'm just wearing a sleeve and pants. I can't produce full power. You're producing more energy than me, a 1,000-year-old captain, and you're banged up that badly.
She realizes, it's at the point she realizes that, like a lot of people does, Ichigo kind of wrapped himself in power in his Bankai. So everything he's wearing in Bankai is essentially his Bankai, a representation of his power. So the less he has on him, the less he actually has.
The best example of comparing that is I can't remember his name, the dog captain. His Bankai is a giant kaiju.
Hmm.
Ichigo's also got a giant kaiju. Instead, he just compacted it into a shirt.
Yeah. It's kind of like
So
when Chad said that Ichigo wraps himself in power during the Fullbring arc.
yeah, that's just Ichigo learning. Oh, I can still do that.
Yeah. But we get awesome fight scenes, and Zangetsu trying to... Old man Zangetsu, I should probably call him, because that's what Ichigo calls him.
Yeah,
Being cryptic, but at the same time, his sage of a person self. So,
yeah.
it's
still old man Zangetsu teaching Ichigo, like he always does. That's why I think Ichigo calls him old man, because he feels old and wise, even though he's a lying motherfucker.
But to be fair, it does kind of feel like that sometimes with the other Reapers as well, with Renji confronting his Zanpakutō.
I think the way why the Zanpakutō lies so much is because, hey, you won't talk to me unless I give you a reason to keep coming back.
Could be. Renji having...
Yeah. Oh god, this is what I've been doing to people.
I'm an asshole. But I'm happy about it.
Oh, this is so cool, though.
But I like the way that Renji wins his fight is by...
Yeah. He basically tricks them.
Yep.
He outplays them. Because they know he's not very good with Keto, he starts Keto spamming at one point, and half his Keto spells explode in his face.
Yep.
And they're just like, what the fuck? He's got ape shit.
And during all this, during a dust cloud, they didn't realize he had scattered pieces of his Shikai.
No, what he did is he broke his Shikai, and they grabbed the Shikai to mock him, like, hey, now we've got two. And he's like, just as I wanted. And he activates his ultimate Shikai attack, which is to have the scattered pieces fly out and attack his opponent. Now, this attack really hurts Zabimaru. It takes a lot of Zabimaru's energy and his own. But to be fair, he's fighting Zabimaru, so eat your own goddamn attack, you sons of bitches.
And to be fair, it's do or die when he does this. It's not something he pulls out at the drop of a hat.
He sets it up by using his Keto as, they know I'm not very good at Keto, so they'll think that's my strategy of, I'll beat with Keto. No, I always intended you to beat you with yourself. I just had to set things up.
Indeed.
And if you're like me, you'll take the sword that's been damaged to mock me with it, because that's what I do. And it shows you that while Renji is not exactly a tactical genius, he's going to speak. So while Ichigo is having to overpower himself by getting the hang of his hollow powers in a sense, this is just a fucking great shot, because Old Man Zangetsu is sort of in Bankai, so Ichigo has to use the biggest Getensho he can with his hollow powers as the fuel.
What I really like about this one, and it's a slight kind of, I guess, lore breaking in a sense, because technically, if you consider Old Man Zangetsu as a representation of his Quincy powers, the energy should not be black and red.
Yes.
And
so that's just how we, the audience, or as Ichigo views it in his head.
Yeah. But at the same time, this is still just impressive art, because I like the hollow mask in the orb behind Ichigo to strike back. Like, this is great.
Yep. It's just iconic. And what I really love about this fight as well, this is the arena where Renji fought Byakuya and impressed him by doing the impossible. And Renji's basically fighting his Zanpakutō in the place where he and Ichigo fought in Soul Society. So it's the place of Renji's biggest defeat in Soul Society has now become the spot of his biggest triumph, beating his own self. Whereas Ichigo is once again making this hallway the impossibilities. Fuck you, I'm doing what I want.
And then we have Rangiku Sword.
Who is a cat girl.
Yeah, who didn't see that one coming?
Yeah. And a very vain cat girl.
Yep.
She and Momo's Tobiyume end up fighting over this mysterious heartthrob.
Yeah, it's Suriyami. I can't.
It's Hiyorimaru,
Thank you.
who, in order to get on his side, Muramasa basically had to lie to him until he forgot everything. He gaslighted Hiyorimaru into being a complete, who am I? Where is my master?
Yeah, he doesn't even
Right.
know Hitsugai is his master. He's like a complete blank slate.
He is convinced that because I'm such a powerful sword, only the most powerful sworders could have ever wielded me. But we'll get to that when we get to their fight. But this is just some humor. And here's another humor where Ikaku basically goes, if you're my Zanpakutō, then you know me very well. Yeah, how do we prove this? Perform the lucky dance with me. And Ichigo has to watch this and go, I don't remember this. I'm leaving.
I just love the severe fact that this happened. Remember when I told you this had good humor, and when it hits, it hits? This is what I'm talking about. This had no reason to happen.
Hozukimaru is using Hozukimaru. That should be enough proof for everybody else, but he's like, no, man. You'll match my timing for the lucky dance. And he does.
Yep.
And he's like, yep. You're my Zanpakutō.
So it's these two dangerous individuals just doing this goofy ass dance, and I love it.
Yep. Lucky, lucky, lucky.
So not all Zanpakutōs are at odds ends with themselves. Some of them are just like one for one with themselves.
Most swords perceived to be pretty balanced with themselves with their own brand of crazy. Hi. Ikaku is just happy to have a fight.
To be fair, this is also the battle maniac fighting the representation of his sword. So,
which I imagine Muramasa had to do zero brainwashing. Come, be free, test your. Oh shit! Yeah, no. Let me grab my suitcase.
Well, that was easy.
I didn't even do any hypnosis, and he's out. Okay.
Wait, was your suitcase pre-packed?
Oh yeah, I was waiting for a chance to fight my owner again. Okay. Maybe they'll all be this easy.
Some of them probably were.
Probably easier than that.
I mean, just look at this guy. Does this look like this guy's gonna do the lucky dance?
No, but he does.
And he enjoys it.
He does. He's not even embarrassed by it.
Nope. Oh, by the way.
So, Muramasa has to step away for a bit while the Zanpakutōs are rebelling, and he goes to the Hollow World for some reason.
Yeah.
Mysteries.
Indeed.
Anyway.
Oh, now they're dying.
I can't see anything in this image.
I'm sure that won't come up to bite us in the ass later. So, this is the end fight between Rangiko,
Momo versus Uni and Hinako.
And
I love this fight. It's one part good action, and two, it's got some really funny parts to it.
But the thing is,
the entire time what's going on is basically kind of a therapy session for Momo, and Rangiku's sort of calling Rangiku old.
Yeah.
The entire time, Kainako's pointing out that that Matsumoto is very vain about her appearance at times, and she's a couple 100 years old. It's going to start showing soon. You can't stay young forever. You're just trying to mask it. You're not taking things seriously, is what Hanako is pointing out to her. You know, you're a grown-ass lady. Act your fucking age, except for she's worded in such a way that you're ancient. Stop trying to look young. Where Tobayuni is saying to Momo, you got abused, and it's your own damn fault. He's never coming back. This is basically the only mention Aizen gets, and it's basically Tobayuni saying to Momo, I'm sick and tired of you pining for a guy who abused you, used you, and threw you away.
Now, to be fair, I understand that my major problem with Momo is that's really the most attention that problem has gotten. Except maybe at the end of the Soul Society arc at the beginning.
Yeah.
But then she's pretty much gone for any other scenes except for maybe like making a quick appearance. And it's really never referenced again except when it's the pretty much poke at her.
Yeah. And the thing is, a lot of people dislike and think she's a wet paper, like she's a wet paper bag. She just wants to be abused. No, she's abused. And the reason why she keeps going back to her abuser is that's what abusers do to you.
Yeah. And I
Her,
understand that. I'm not saying that she's at fault for this.
yeah, if you're on the outside, it looks obvious that, oh, you just shouldn't go back to Aizen. Oh, he was terrible to you. She can't wrap her head around that because he's a manipulator so
Mhm.
much.
I mean, this is Aizen, the man who pretty much manipulated all Soul Society behind the scenes without anybody noticing a damn thing.
And that's not even counting, good God, how often did he hypnotize her for fun? He picked her out from a crowd because he realized, oh, she's got this kind of personality. This is what she wants in an ideal man. If I act like this and I subtly say this or I give her respect like this, eventually I'm going to become her entire world, and the idea of me not being in her life isn't a possibility
Now,
for her.
let me be
For her
clear.
to show up in many situations like she does, good God, that shows strength behind her. But she's going to relapse because that's what happens a lot.
Mm-hmm. Now, I want to point out that I'm not disagreeing that her showing some outrage at one point would be not unexpected. Yeah. Like, I think the problem is that this is the most out of that show that we've seen her, other than her trying to go about her normal routine. I think that's part of the problem. But what I like,
but it's also a when do we have time to show that problem?
I'm not saying that's wrong in that thought. I'm simply saying that's where I think it could have been slightly touched upon. But what I also like is that Ragiko is trying to support Momo, not by saying, oh, you're poor abused, oh, this and that, but by treating her as a friend.
Yeah.
And
that's actually how they win this fight. Mm-hmm. Because Tobayumi and Hinako are the worst parts of these two, and they can't get along.
Nope.
Momo and Matsumoto take one look at these two squabbling, then look at each other going, oh, we can use this.
Yep.
And the two of them actually play up to the Zanpakutō's insult working. So when the two of them are at the height of we've won and about to strike them, Momo fires off a spell, a very obvious spell that her Zanpakutō quickly dodges and goes, that it? Well, Matsumoto's doing the exact same thing. And her Zanpakutō's laughing, an old lady like you could never hit the broadside of the bar. Dodge it slightly. And then Momo hits Hinako. Matsumoto almost hits Tobayumi, but it lets Momo fire a second spell that then wraps the two up, slams them down, and the two of them run over each other and high-five each other in the most adorable way, like girl power we knew was going on.
Yep.
And it really comes across because Matsumoto is very skilled, and she trusts Momo complicitly. Mm-hmm. She's fully aware that Momo has issues. She has some self-doubt. But she also knows not only did Aizen choose you because you're manipulative, he chose you because you were a powerful person in growth that he wanted under his thumb. Meaning, shit, girl, you got some real firepower. I know you can do this.
And not only that, as much as I say Momo is not as bright as I think she could have been, she is observant. She is a lieutenant.
She's also a Keto expert. Mm-hmm. She has the makings of a great Keto master.
And she can easily read people for one reason or another. I'm not going into it.
Yeah, especially someone she knows has her back. And that's the thing about Matsumoto is my favorite thing about her is while she comes across as, well, a lot of fans think she's a dumb bimbo. No, she is a very compassionate and caring person. Almost all of her best scenes are her just telling someone you're in your own head. It's okay to feel these things. She does it with Orihime.
She makes me, Momo. While a lot of other lieutenants and captains are military minded, she makes me think of almost like a group therapist.
She's the group therapist or the best big sister you could ask for.
Mm-hmm. And someone like that is honestly needed when your entire society is based around using essentially violence to keep the peace. And there's a reason why they need that violence, because hollows, but...
Yeah. And the thing I also love about Matsumoto is she's been a lieutenant for over 100 years. She's combat experienced.
Yep.
She's tough as nails. She likes to come across as, soft and feminine, because then you were completely taken a blind bag that, oh crap, she has claws. That's what she is. That's why her Zanpakutō is a cat. She is basically a house cat. Aren't you? Oh god, And like I said, this is how you do filler. Sure, Matsumoto has gotten lots of screen time. She is extremely popular. She has her own gravitational pull.
You beat me to it.
But Momo doesn't get that much screen time, so using her and Momo like this, it might be my second favorite fight of the whole arc.
But let's move on now. Oh, so you made a new friend. Good for you.
Yeah, well, all this is going on. Muramasa's been wandering around the Hollow world just looking for a Hollow. I wonder why.
No idea.
Moving right.
Yep. Oh, that can't be healthy.
Yeah,
By the way, can I offer you a nail clippers?
Yeah, that's kind of creepy there, man. You okay, Muramasa?
I'm sure it's fine.
Maybe your Hollow friend will take care of it. So, we hinted Byakuya has arc going on. He's not surprised by the Zanpakutō rebellion. In fact, he's one of the first people to leap into fighting their Zanpakutō.
Mm-hmm.
But he goes missing after fighting Senbon-Zakura.
Yeah, he's been missing for a large chunk of this so far.
Yeah, he and Senbon-Zakura have a fight while Senbon-Zakura is about to hurt Rukia. He steps in, and then he disappears when Senbon-Zakura sends him into a building. But he keeps showing up in random places throughout the arc as well.
Mm-hmm. So,
in fact, it seems like Senbon-Zakura beat him, because he seems to be following Senbon-Zakura instead of what happens after Renji beats Zabimaru. Zabimaru starts following him around the physical body.
Yep.
But yeah, going to the next image. The way they use Bankai is the snake boy part of the two of them becomes the whole snake.
Which, in a way, makes sense, because that does look more like a snake than a monkey to me.
Yes. It also makes more sense as well when you find out the truth behind Hihio Zabimaru.
I think that's more... I don't know how much of that is just because this was pretty much filler, and this is just what they went with, and the other idea came up later, or if this was planned.
I know for a fact that some things in the Zanpakutō Rebellion arc, while Kubo didn't help completely with this arc, he did look over that arc and go, oh shit, I love what you guys are doing. I'm going to take this. I'm going to take this. I'm going to give you this for your arc. Because he did contribute a few designs for the Zanpakutōs. I know that.
So it's hard for me to say which is planned. Like I said, Kubo, to me, is a genius at foreshadowing and accidental foreshadowing.
Yeah, where the two start and end?
I couldn't tell you whatsoever.
He's also really good, like most of the great manga, like Akira Toriyama was, of an editor or the fans having a reaction to something. He looks over and goes, oh.
See, that's what I want. He has this thing that he does. He takes a couple of questions and answers them. I want to send in my question about the dual Shikai question to him, just to see what his reaction to it would be.
Yeah, he's answered one before, but Kubo's question and answer section is, if you ask him a question, he will sometimes troll you with a yes or a no or a you are correct. Like if you ask a question of, hey, do dual swords work like this or like this? You are correct.
I was still...
The guy who wrote White Ichigo, he's very good at the being, I am technically correct.
I know, but even if that was the answer I got, I would still be happy that you at least read it.
Yep. Anyway.
So it turns out Byakuya's working with the Zanpakutōs.
And if you beat the Zanpakutō, they become subservient to you. So if the Zanpakutō beats you, maybe you'll become subservient to them.
So,
but what I think about this scene is it shows that the Soul Reapers, after a while, learn that you have to beat your own Zanpakutō. But we have an army, so who fucking cares? Just, send the army after them.
Because
so here's ninjas.
We also, at this point, don't really know the whole process of Zanpakutō being made. So, in theory, if we break the one we have now, there's nothing in the lore saying we couldn't just get another one. that we know
Or
of.
if breaking them now is a permanent destruction, or will it have nasty side effects to you because they're part of your soul?
Yeah, so there's a lot of things up in the air, but again, filler, so anything can be hand waved. Which is kind of the strength and weakness of filler, if you ask me.
Mm-hmm.
Oh! Um. By the way, remember how we said Byakuya was working with the Zanpakutōs? So,
Oh, yeah.
as a test, he was told to break Rukia's Zanpakutō. He did it.
Yep.
So, yeah, this kind of really led into people thinking that Byakuya was 100% with the Zanpakutōs.
Yep.
And I wouldn't blame him.
Yep.
Yeah, she is devastated at that.
I mean, she loves her sword. She was so happy to have that sword unlocked, and it's a really good scene.
Yeah. And this is just hilarious.
So, one of my favorite characters with her Zanpakutō, and this is hilarious as well, because Soifan's usually the smallest person in a fight, and her Zanpakutō is so tiny. She actually has a hard time keeping up with it for a bit. But Suzuki Vivachi also brings up the thing a lot of fans have with Soifan is stop being so head over heels about Yoruichi. She abandoned you. Stop being so stupid about her.
Look, she likes to play around with a lot of people, but we're pretty sure she's going to stay with Kiseki. Get over it.
Yes. Or Kisuke, whoever this Kisuke is.
I just love the designs for the Zanpakutōs, because this is just cute and adorable and deadly at the same time.
I'm actually not 100% sold on this one's design. I love Suzuki Vivachi as a weapon, so I felt.
Oh, shit got real.
All right. Since Zaraki can't hear his Zanpakutō, Motovasa couldn't hear it either. So for him, this is a whole bunch of new enemy combatants for him to just,
What's
fight.
that? Socialized and trouble? I get to fight a bunch of new people? I'm in.
So wait. You're telling me that these guys have the powers of our support of our allies? Yeah, the powers I've always wanted to test myself against. Yes. Oh god, it's a good thing I'm wearing baggy pants.
Could you imagine how terrifying once you know what his Zanpakuto actually is? How terrifying would have been if that showed up too, and how happy he would have been about it.
Yes. Oh god, because he didn't get to actually fight his Zanpakuto properly.
I mean, this is
him. Oh yeah, this is him against one of the more powerful Zanpakutos. He don't care.
No, he Kenpachi. He don't care. He do what Kenpachi do best and fights quickly, which disappoints him, but makes everybody else feel safer.
I guess it makes him feel safer.
Well, it means he stopped pointing his sword to you right away.
I guess, but it feels more like as if you're sleeping in a bear's den. Sure, the bear is going to keep out other things, but after a while, you're like, the bear wants to take me on.
Look, I'm just saying, I don't have to be the fastest Soul Reaper. I just gotta be the one that's faster than the rest. No,
more accurate, you need to be the one with the least impressive fighting prowess.
Well, that's why I'm running. It means I'm less impressed with a fight.
I don't know, you're pretty fast. What if you're really good at kicking? Go back again.
Oh, yeah, Old Man Yamamoto. Forgot about him.
Yeah, he's been sitting inside a bear this entire time. With the other most powerful Zanpakutōs, Unohana's, Kyoraku's, and Ukitaki's outside the barrier.
I just had these in here because I think these are good for a laugh.
I don't even remember this, but I fucking love it. All I can think of is...
So basically, Mayuri was talking about his poison stuff like that when he was trying to cure Ichigo. Ichigo refused everything. It's like, who told you all these lies? Uri, when you cured him back in the first arc. So it's like, oh yes, if I had been really thoughtful, I would have upgraded Uryu. And this is what he would have upgraded him to.
It literally is a common writer-styled cyborg he would have made him into.
Speaking of cyborg, Kenpachi says, I don't care if you turn into a dragon or a robot, so long as I can fight him. And this is Robo Ichigo.
Metallic Madden song goes here, if you know that meme.
Just look at that face, though.
Which face am I supposed to be loving? Because I love both faces on screen.
The Robo Ichigo. It's got the Kenpachi, I get the fight smile.
Yeah, although Kenpachi makes you think, man, I hope they have any more hot dogs left at the store.
That's true. Oh, by the way, Yachiro pisses off Mayuri's sword.
That doesn't surprise me in the slightest.
No.
Although I find it very fitting that she's doing this.
Yeah.
So this is one of the designs I love, and it's actually one that Kupo uses canon. This is Katen Kutsugu's Shunsui's Zanpakutō, and it is lifted 100% for the 1,000-Year Blood War. So when this image was, when she was first seen in the 1,000-Year Blood War, everyone went, wait, 1,000-Year Blood War's canon?
Yeah.
And the answer to that statement is, yes?
No. Maybe?
Some parts are. And honestly, it's a good design. Some sort of pirate lady.
It's a Yakuza pirate. Yar. I like the eye patch.
Yeah. Yeah.
And these is Ukitaki's swords, however you want to look at that.
Yeah. Ukitaki is a very fatherly kind of man, and his childhood was very stressful.
Yeah. We'll go with that for now.
Zanpakuto comes across as incredibly youthful, and I think that's kind of cute.
Not to mention...
And they're always holding hands, because his Zanpakuto is always two swords attached by a thread. Or not really a thread, more like a velvet rope.
Yeah. The funny thing is, you would almost think this would have been Shunsui's sword, because the way his sword actually works by playing kids' games.
Yeah.
So I like the subversion there. They kind of leads you to think of one thing, and you find out it's something different. Because this almost kind of makes me think almost like a Lady of Death, especially, you can't see, but the skull on her head. You would almost think that's Ukitaki's because how ill he's always is. Like he's almost ready to kill over certain situations.
You could even maybe see it as Unohana's because the old line, medicine can also be used to hurt. Also, when you learn more about Unohana.
Yeah. But I'm saying it's a nice trick to throw you off. But when they actually interact, you see the matchup, and it matches so much better.
Instantaneously.
Yeah.
And the way he describes his Zanpakuto, it fits. Yeah, that sounds right.
And Kenpachi's just having fun once again.
Yep. There's versus Sanjin, the wolf captain.
Yep.
Zanpakuto. Who I've already fought you before. And Yoruichi gets to just school on a whole bunch of Zanpakuto.
Yeah. My question is, I forget how Momo and Rangiku let their Zanpakutos get away, but Yoruichi's happy to smack them around.
They let the 12th squad take them for investigation.
Oh, that's right.
Rather than beat them, they thought it would be better to send their Zanpakutos to be investigated, which on one hand, yeah, probably. On the other hand, no.
Yeah. Moving on, though.
That's just my distrust of Mayuri.
I just love the sword coming out of the cane. Just the way it just unravels and tears away.
Finds the three Zanpakutos, well, technically, when he finds the three most powerful Zanpakutos surrounding Old Man Yamamoto and the barrier, he thinks, oh shit, they've got Old Man trapped, and then sets him free by breaking the barrier. No, Old Man Yamamoto had sealed himself away so his Ryujin Jaka couldn't get out.
And that's not even what Muramasa was after, if you can believe that.
No, he was not. But to be fair, getting Ryujin and Jaka out is terrifying.
Yeah.
So the three most powerful Zanpakutos were trying to break a barrier Old Man Yamamoto put on himself. And they couldn't do it, so Ichigo just shows up and does that.
Remember what I said about the high-octane engine?
Yep. So Old Man Yamamoto, once his Zanpakuto is instantaneously out, has to fight it. And what I love about Ryujin Jaka is every other Zanpakuto takes a humanoid-like form. It is just a wall of fire.
Yep.
It is so powerful, it has no human form.
But the other thing is, Muramasa was looking for information on where his master is, who's still alive.
he kept hinting that, oh, I am a free Zanpakutō. I don't have a master. Which was him bullshitting because he's looking for his master.
Mm-hmm.
He's been looking for his master for hundreds of years. And he finds out, my master is trapped in the human world. He stumbles into the human world. His condition flares up. And he runs into Orihime.
Plot convenient.
Who does what she always does. And she tries to help people. Now, much like with Ichigo, her helping people generally leads to her life being slightly better.
This wasn't one of the cases.
No, it's one of the exceptions.
To be fair, this did actually help out in the long run because it bought more time before shit really got screwed, but...
Yeah. So, A for effort?
I guess. I mean, he's still going to try and kill her.
But luckily for Orihime, she's not 100% defenseless. Actually, she's very defensible. She's 100% offenseless.
Look, I will say this. I do not hate her, but Orihime just she's
work for you. I understand that.
She just irks me the wrong way sometimes because it's like, you are the white mage. I'm glad you have a little bit of offensive capability you never use. I'm sure as hell glad you got an impenetrable shield to protect yourself with. But please, for the love of God, stop saying you're going to fight on the goddamn front lines when you're most deficient in the back lines, keeping us all alive.
Yep, no, that's fair. At least she's better at this than Sakura is at times.
I mean, not every time, but most of the time. She literally has to be told, hey, stay there, defend us, and heal. Otherwise, she doesn't put up her goddamn shield.
Yeah. To be fair, though, I think that's mostly she's in shock by all these cosmic events going around her, so kind of fair.
Well, I'm just saying.
No, you are right. If it was me, I don't think I'd ever take down the defensive shields.
I just say at one point you realized, oh, cosmic horror shield.
I think actually it's better if you just nothing's going on. I'm just keeping the shield up for every purposes. Because when the cosmic horror happens, your brain kind of skips a few beats.
Fair. I'm just saying it's like, oh, the fight starts, shield. Oh, we're going somewhere dangerous, shield.
This is basically what happens for Ichigo's friends. One of my problems with the filler arcs is humans get forgotten unless your name is Ichigo Kurosaki.
Yeah. But enough about that. Someone's seen better days.
A couple hundred years ago, there was an up-and-coming, powerful Soul Reaper who married into the Kuchiki clan. He then went drunk with power and got sealed away by the at the time head of the Kuchiki clan, aka Byakuya's grandfather.
This is the first story we are told about him. And while it is true, it doesn't have all the details.
Which is very, very typical of the Soul Society.
Mm-hmm. This is Koga.
Who was an up-and-coming, extremely powerful Soul Reaper, who was probably going to be one of the Soul Reaper's biggest and baddest in filler continuity.
The problem was they were afraid that his sword would become either its own entity and overwhelm everybody because you were more Mosque control Zanpakutōs. Soul Society at that point lived and breathed by their Zanpakutō.
See, Muramasa's original ability was to make your sword turn against you, as in you'd be holding your Zanpakutō and all of a sudden you're stabbing yourself with it.
They were afraid that
is nightmare fuel for people who live and die by your sword in combat against somebody. But for the very notion of your own sword being turned against you, nightmare fuel.
And they were afraid that, well, first of all, Koga's ego was going to be on the rise.
And it was.
Yeah. And that he would lose sight and his sword would become the master without Koga realizing it.
You see, one of the things about him is he married into the Kuchiki clan as I don't think he was an urchin, but he certainly wasn't, of noble blood. So he kept trying to do bigger and better things to reach the approval of his father-in-law, the at the time head of the Kuchiki clan. But rather than impress his at the time father-in-law, it just made him appear to be showboating.
And I can't put the entire blame of Koga, because Ginrei did kind of word his concerns badly to Koga at the start. Because to Koga, it sounded like Ginrei was afraid that Koga would become too powerful.
Mm-hmm.
And while that is certainly a concern, because power can't be corruptive, I'm not saying it's 100%, but it can blindside you. So the entire thing is that Ginrei was trying to pass on the values of the Kuchiki clan.
Yeah. Hey, you married into my prominent family. Here are our clan's missions, our goals, how we live up to these standards. I see great potential in you, son.
And I never got the feeling during these flashbacks that Ginryu hated him. It was more of a, we have standards.
I have extremely high standards. You married my daughter. You're in my clan. My clan is one of, if not the most important underneath the Soul Society.
Mm-hmm.
This is a lot of stress I'm under. You need to take this seriously because there's a chance you might become the next head of this clan.
And the way I can tell that Ginrei didn't, is it Ginrei or Ginrei? I can't remember.
I believe it's Ginryu. Let me double check.
The way they could tell that he didn't outright hate Koga is because he was giving him a chance to prove himself. This was
He gave him many chances.
Yeah. So he had some caring for Koga.
Yeah.
So it wasn't as if this was.
It's Ginrei. It's Ginrei.
Ginrei. Yeah, okay. It wasn't as if Ginrei was never giving Koga a chance. But the thing is, giving him a chance and offering full honesty was almost like two different set paths at this point. If he had
There's also how Koga wasn't really listening at times, it felt like, too. Like, the two of them were never meeting each other halfway. They were stopping before they met. Ginryu has the misfortune of, I've only ever dealt with fellow nobles who innately understand a lot of what I'm expressing. While Koga, while a highly skilled, highly trained officer, has never had to really think nobility. He's had to think like a soldier.
Right.
How do you impress the next guy, the higher guy in rank? You do some amazing things. Whereas to Genryu, that looks like you're showboating. You're not doing this for the honor of the clan. You're doing this for your own personal honor.
And to be fair, they're both right and wrong at the same time, hence creating the problems that occurred. And Muramasa, as far as I could tell, never actually would have done anything rebellion. His entire purpose at this point in this backstory...
It is ironic that he is probably the single most loyal Zanpakutō.
Which
he staged a rebellion just so he could learn the location of where his master is sealed. Because, like everything that old man Yamamoto does, well, this is illegal. Time to erase it from the history books.
Yeah.
Stop doing that. Like, I get it. You don't want to blight on the Soul Society's history. But that just means people have to go to extreme, insane lengths to get this information, such as assassinating you.
Or, never learning from your past mistakes. Just saying.
I mean, you're 1,000 years old, man. This has had to happen a few times. But when Muramasa frees Koga, Koga is such an ungrateful bastard.
Yeah, because here's the thing. While Koga was locked up, Muramasa literally leads a one Zanpakutō rebellion to go fight his master the first time he was locked up. So the problem is that during his imprisonment, Koga had pretty much what can be described as a mental breakdown, essentially.
For over 100 years with no one to talk to. And the only thing he has to remember is the Soul Society locked me up for, well, pretty much trumped up charges in a sense. Like, he still did illegal things.
But here's the thing. Even Ginrei admitted, up until the point of his arrest, Koga did not do anything illegal.
Yeah.
It was his actions afterwards, when Muramasa came to free him, that's when he did the illegal.
Yeah, he technically killed the first arresting officers, which, not a good idea there, buddy.
Now, here's the thing. When he was having his mental breakdown and when he was being sealed away after the prison escape, Muramasa couldn't hear his calls anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So, like I said, the mental breakdown broke the connection he had with his Zanpakutō.
Yep. Even though it was broken, though, Muramasa still longed to be back together.
Mm-hmm. So part of the problem here is that Koga thinks Muramasa abandoned him.
When in actuality, he broke their bond.
Mm-hmm.
And he had the opportunity to reestablish the bond, and his response is, "You abandoned me, you son of a bitch," and shanks him.
Yep.
And he also breaks Muramasa, the actual physical sword, inside Muramasa. Throwing his sword away, and then using the sealing spears upon himself as his new weapons. Which, they look fucking cool.
Yeah, they do. And like I said, he does kind of look like what you would think of a noble.
He is wearing the Kuchiki hair clips, which are worth, I don't know, what's the economic growth of France?
I don't know.
One of those probably worth that. But yeah, on learning that Muramasa is broken after being freed, this is when he's getting captured. Muramasa stopped working for him then.
Yeah.
Being captured. He's just kind of like, the fuck?
So we also learned one other interesting thing.
Genryu and Genrei develop a technique basically to seal themselves off from Muramasa's ability. But doing so basically means their own Zanpakutōs are locked down. So these two can't fight at full power. But it prevents someone like Muramasa from entering in them and taking their Zanpakutō.
Mm-hmm.
This is how they seal Koga and, in a sense, Muramasa, by giving them no means to attack them. They are weaker, but again, as the Soul Reapers use their swords for so much, they lack the full power to kill these two. So sealing is their only option.
Mm-hmm.
And they make sure to teach this ability to the next head of the Kuchiki clan, Byakuya.
Oh, yeah. And this is just a cool image right here.
Yeah, this is one of the spears they sealed Koga with. I love the idea of him turning around and immediately using the weapons against him on people.
He uses it effectively. I'll give him that.
He's even able to use them for spellcraft. Like, the fight between Byakuya and Koga, that's the best of the series. The best of this arc. The unfortunate fight of the mutating Muramasa against Ichigo doesn't get the same animation quality. In concept, it's a good idea. Muramasa's been eating hollows to give himself a physical form because he no longer has Koga to supply him with Ryatsu.
He's supplementing his hollow self by acting like a hollow.
Yeah, because Zanpakutōs are mostly made out of Soul Reaper souls mushed together and hollow souls mushed together, he figures he can do that. He unbalances himself, and the eye bleeding thing is a symptom of it.
Yeah.
And with Koga not only injuring him fatally, but also basically saying, "I don't need you," his body breaks, and his mind breaks, and his soul breaks.
And there's just a whole bunch of breaking.
All that is left is the hollows he's pushed together, which start leaking out and attracting more hollows. So, what I do love about this is rather than have Ichigo fight the big bad, which is technically Koga, he just has to deal with Koga's leftovers. And it's another example of why I like Ichigo, because upon learning Muramasa's reason for doing all this, he's immediately bummed the fuck out, like, oh, I feel so sorry for you.
Especially with his deep connection with Zangetsu.
Yeah, he's just like, oh, this is the worst way you could be treated. Oh, God, you are... Oh, I wish you had... Muramasa needs a hug. Yeah, he's leaking hollows. I need to put him down, don't I? Yeah.
Thanks, Ryu.
Yeah, I'll take care of the small boys. Chad will be over here firing discount Kamehamehas. I appeared for a scene.
So, Muramasa mutates, which I can only assume would be somewhere around below Vesta Lorde mode?
Yeah, he probably ate at least 1 week Vesta Lorde. Either way, it's a weird design. I don't love it, but I don't hate it.
I like the arm blades. I like the teeth in the hole.
Honestly, I think it's the teeth in the hole that makes me not like this. Feels pointless.
I I like it because it's something different. It's not trying to be like, whether or not you like the idea, but trying something different with something that hasn't been done before. Like, we've seen humans turn to hollows, we've seen the hollow progression. This is a Zanpakutō turning to a hollow. So in some regard, you think something's going to be different. So they're trying to do a familiar design with the hollow, but as they are technically the claws and fangs of a Reaper, it's just something different and trying to make some sense with it.
It just feels a bit try-hardy or edgelordy to me.
Which was more Mazda to a nutshell in some cases.
Yeah, I get. He felt more emo to me than try-hardy, though.
Fair.
Yeah.
Either way, it's not the worst design we've seen in Bleach.
Oh god, no. It's not even the worst we've seen in filler arcs. It's just one I'm like, I don't care for. I liked your original form a lot more, but it does work as a, oh shit, he's no longer himself.
Yeah. Like I said, it just comes down to, and I will always say, I'm never against people trying something different. And
no.
One of the major things,
design that works.
Yeah, and one of the major things we always said, fillers where you try that, and this was.
I do like how it's the crest on his handguard is basically his face now.
Mm-hmm. That actually is a very nice detail.
It's just warped beyond. Oh, it's basically badly warped because his entire world is shattered.
Yep. Oh, by the way, there's a rip in reality opening.
Yeah, there's just gonna be like I said, he's full of hollows, he's leaking hollows, and he's attracting more hollows.
God, Ryu, it was almost like you had another competition. Shut up.
You unleash Armageddon one time.
So, Ichigo falls into the rift and winds up in what's left of Koga's inner world.
Which is troubling.
Yeah.
Because Koga's reality is breaking as well, because
Koga's dying.
He's dying, he was also slightly cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs.
Yeah. And I guess Muramasa just wants to go back, because I forget the reason why he's still even fighting at this point. I think he's just so far gone, he just doesn't care.
He feels like he has no purpose anymore. He kind of just wants suicide by cop, I guess.
Yeah. Because his sword's even starting to unravel now. He himself, as the representation of Koga's power, is essentially degrading to the point it's just returning to straight up spirit energy.
Yep.
But
at the same time, we have this awesome fight. So Byakuya decides to do the reverse of setting himself off. He makes himself a lot more open, to the point where he's now relying on Senbon Zakura to guard his back. It is putting his complete and utter faith in his sword. See, Murabasa's ability to pull out and control a Zanpakutō is also Koga's ability. It's an ability they kind of shared. It's inferred to be Muramasa has mutated a weird ability Koga had. So even without Muramasa, Koga could still, against any other sword reaper, make their sword misbehave. But when Senbon Zakura and Byakuya fought, Byakuya won the original duel, but then pretended to be a slave to Senbon Zakura, in not only a means of learning what the Zanpakutōs were up to and learning where Koga was, because Grandpa didn't tell Byakuya, just told him how to beat him.
Yeah.
That's great. Great advice.
So you come across this man that you may never find, but if you somehow find him where he was in prison, which I will never tell you where, just so you might never go there, but in the off chance you actually find yourself being there and somehow releasing him,
just seal your Zanpakutō inside yourself so he can't reach it and grab it. This will nerf your powers greatly, even nerfing your keto, because you'll be sending so much keto to keep your Zanpakutō sealed inside of you.
That's oddly specific, Grandpa. I know, just like the rest of the clan.
Grandpa, are you off your meds again? But no, Byakuya decides to put 100% faith in Senbon Zakura, so anytime Senbon Zakura starts to act up, he grabs him. Anytime he starts to act up, Senbon Zakura grabs him in a sense. This means he is able to express his full powers, but he has no real true defense. And unfortunately for him, oh shit, he's really strong.
Yep.
Byakuya can't rely on all of his abilities, but he can rely on his intelligence. I don't know what this scene is.
I forgot what I grabbed this. This is not what I remember.
Yeah, maybe I should have done a better job of curating these.
Oh, okay. This was where it went off rails. This is the this is one of the ones that got off trail. Okay, this is Byakuya killing Rukia's sword. I thought I deleted and just moved it.
Okay. But yeah, we get to see Byakuya's final attack, Hakute, one more time. That's how he delivers the final blow to Koga. Ugh. Tongue tied here.
Don't worry, we're almost done.
Also getting distracted by Hudson. My cat just woke up.
Oh, hi, Hudson. And this is one of the flashbacks back to showing off that they didn't Byakuya didn't lose, as Em was saying.
Yep. He beat his Zanpakutō, but what I love is in order to gain the true trust of his Zanpakutō, not only did he beat it, he then willingly pretended to be its servant.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that was a good idea on two beats. It got him more information, and it really showed Senbon Zakura, we're a team.
And he was determined to do it, going so far as to breaking Rukia's sword.
Yep. Which, yeah, he hated every second of it.
Yep. So yeah, just more scenes, more fight scenes showing the end of the world, essentially.
Oh god, is it Thursday already?
Okay, the last bit just got really warped out of place. Okay, so this was one of the other things I wanted to show off as well. Because
this is why I kept making hand jokes about Muramasa.
Yeah.
That's the representation of how he grabs people.
Oh yeah. This is literally how he cheated to beat Wait Ichigo.
Yep. What I also love is how these hands are visible on reflections, and because Ichigo's inner world is nothing but skyscrapers, Ichigo could see the hands in the windows.
Mm-hmm. Because to show that it's a reflection of Koga's ability, it shows up in reflections. Koga's essentially is more of in the shadows, so it's harder to hide from.
Mm-hmm.
So I like that little design choice they did for that one. And this is that reflection there.
Yeah, Ichigo looks up onto a skyscraper above him and goes, oh.
Now, the other thing is, if you interrupt that reflection, you break the control that Muramasa has.
Or if you just attack where it is, it also works too. Like, these hands are physically there, you can only just see the reflection.
Mm-hmm. Oh, and just so we're all clear, this is...
Yeah, this is the physical embodiment of Ryujin Chaka. Like I said, it's just a wall of fire.
Yeah. Ryu doing cool things to fight.
I appeared here.
Okay.
I already fought this Bankai before. I already thought, oh, what the fuck? No, it's a good rematch.
This is Ginryo showing up with the sealed swords.
Yeah.
This
again.
I think this just got screwed when I brought it up. Okay.
And that's Byakuya ending his family's mistake.
Yep.
Now, I do like how Byakuya does refer to him as Sakuchi, though.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas Genryu and Genrai both erased him from history, Byakuya is based on the lines of, no. This is a mistake that our clan did. You were a Kuchiki. You were just a bad one.
I think because after all his time with Rukia and Ichigo having his...
It's especially because of his time with Rukia, because Koga was not a noble. And as Byakuya has been trying to help Rukia become a noble lady, he realizes you can't just give someone a title and they're a noble. It takes time and effort. It's not an instantaneous. You're not just going to be, a statesman instantaneously. You have to
I'd also like to think that Ginrei also had some self-realization himself. Because everything I've seen of Ginrei, while he does have high standards for his clan, he doesn't seem
holier than thou.
Yeah.
Which is definitely feels like it definitely wasn't Genrei that Byakuya promised the whole I will never break the clan's laws again too. But maybe Genrei had the reverse character growth Byakuya did. Hey, we invited this lesser into the family and it made things worse. We must be more serious about this stuff. Where Byakuya was, we were too serious. We need to lighten up. It's a possibility.
I'm just saying, like, Ginrei just seems at least like one of the few Soul Reapers at the time that would have learned that, okay, we screwed up with Koga. Koga,
maybe because we did screw up with Koga, that the other nobles of the family were so strict on Byakuya. They didn't learn the right lessons, while Ginrei would have.
and it's just, that's one of the things that really makes me interested about it, because like I said, for the small instances that we've had of Ginrei, I like them. Especially his interaction when, like, say, Yoruichi showed up to Byakuya's training when he was a younger lad. He seemed to be having a laugh at it.
He just feels like Grandpa's having fun.
Yeah. So,
but again, I do like how Byakuya basically goes, I gotta clean up my clan's mistake and honor what happened before. You know, the proper thing when, hey, we did a mistake, we don't just sweep under rug, we have to admit, oops, we fucked up, let's try and fix things.
Because here's the thing, this is two men having a discussion of what power is meant to be used for. Because they even had that argument before they go at each other.
Yep.
And in a way, if it feels like if Ginrei had been more honest and upfront about his concerns and just been, instead of trying to be the holier than thou, noble, classy with it, maybe not so much would have gone wrong. But again, mistakes are mistakes, and you can only try and fix them and move on to be better.
Oh, and as a side note, a lot of people were confused at this point. A lot of people thought, wait, did this filler arc introduce Byakuya's dad and he killed his dad? No, this is his uncle. This man married Byakuya's aunt.
Ah. So.
Yeah.
But
the drama of Koga, if Koga had been Byakuya's dad, that would have been great, I guess.
I think that would have been a little much for what was going on already.
Yeah, that would have been a different plot altogether, I think. But just taking down my crazy uncle still works.
Yeah.
We do go back, before this happens, Hitsugaya does have to prove to Hyoru, no, I'm your master, even though I'm a little kid.
See, the thing about it is,
we get a really good flashback to how Hitsugaya met Rangiku.
I gotta go through this program again. I think it's just having issues. That's all my fault for not being 100% with this. I do apologize, but hey, it's triggered chaos. If there wasn't a little bit of chaos going on the show, it wouldn't be us.
I mean, we've had me disconnect twice now, so a couple of hiccups there. I don't know how often Soul's gonna edit around that, but hey, I got disconnected a few times because if it ain't Discord, it's something else.
Yeah, but I do. But once again, we mentioned that Horimaru can't remember who his master is, and when Toshiro shows up and says, "I'm your master," he's completely shocked by this. He almost is in disbelief.
Oh, he is in disbelief. He keeps saying, go away, little kid.
Yeah. I think he was kind of hoping Ichigo was his master when Ichigo confronted him.
Probably, because Ichigo just exudes strength. Or maybe he was hoping, like, an old man like Kiraku or even old man Yamamoto.
Yeah.
But, honestly, just a lot of bluster. And we get a repeat of Ichigo using his super speed and the inside of Koga's spirit world.
Which is a lot.
Flooding.
Yeah.
I guess the universal sign of your soul is having issues. Remember that time Ichigo's inner world got flooded?
Yeah, the only thing left standing are the pillars. Which almost feel like a reflection of the pillars of Soul Society, which Koga built on himself from being in the Kuji clan. That kind of led to all this.
So proud of you for figuring that out, Soul. That is a very good observation. You get a gold star.
Yay! Oh yeah, when Byakuya tried to fight Kenpachi.
Well, Kenpachi tried to fight him because he thought he went rogue. And it's like, oh, I had an excuse to fight you now. I'm on the right side of this fight.
Yeah, this was not going to be pretty.
There's a lot of good interactions in this. And generally, the art and animation is of a higher quality for this art.
Yeah.
It's very different from the Bound art. There's a few janky parts because all of Bleach 4 has janky art.
Yeah.
More leaking from Muramasa.
Just
More
Palos
Apollo.
coming in out of Muramasa.
It's just a good apocalyptic shot, although
Yeah.
I keep thinking those Menos Grandes have been lying too often.
Just the design of Senban Sakura is really nice.
Yeah. That's the thing. Almost all the Zanpakutōs have very good designs. There's a few, like I said, don't work, and there's a few jokes that don't land. Like the fat lieutenant from Squad 2, we've already brought up. His Zanpakuto basically is just him.
Yeah, he was one of the ones I didn't think were worth bringing up.
I've like the fat lieutenant from Squad 2 is probably my least favorite Sawyer who's not named Mayuri.
I think he's one of my least favorite characters.
Yeah. One of these days we're gonna do a top 10, top and bottom 10, or whatever. We'll do a top Bleach characters.